Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. My name is Plami, and in this episode of Plami's Thoughts On, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the recent premiere of the 6th season of Fear the Walking Dead. And honestly, if you haven't seen the premiere, first of all, what the fuck are you doing here if you haven't? And second of all, fucking go and watch it, cause that was amazing. Maybe I'm overrating it a little bit, and you might think that a lot of people are overrating it a little bit after you watch the episode, but honestly, that was actually the first good episode of Fear the Walking Dead in a long time. Like, I haven't watched the show since season 3. I've checked out a couple of episodes here and there, but I haven't watched the show with interest since season 3, honestly. And that was honestly fucking amazing. As I said for my Walking Dead video, I will be reviewing Fear the Walking Dead at some point in the future. I've even done a video on the first episode, so you can check that out. But it's gonna be a while until I get to do that. But for the first 3 seasons, honestly, I love what the show was going for. It was a little bit slow building, but it got there eventually for season 3. And I think season 3 is one of the best seasons of the Walking Dead universe period. But after the 3rd season, as some of you may know, they changed the showrunners and brought Morgan in from The Walking Dead. And it got shit, honestly. I didn't even really feel like watching season 4 because of that change. I don't know what was it. I guess like I felt like it was shit, so I wasn't really feeling like keeping up. And also season 4, I believe, was very much around the time of season 8 of the main show, which is when I was kind of losing interest in The Walking Dead because of how boring season 8 of the main show was. But the first half of season 4 is not too bad. The second half is where it gets them, and season 5 is just retarded. I'm sorry for using that word, some people might get offended, but it's simply fucking retarded. I hate it. I hated it. It's so dumb. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that season 4 and season 5, it's not like they are not without merit. There are good ideas in this season. It's just the execution is just stupid. Like, for example, for season 5, because I feel like season 5 had a little bit more going for it conceptually, the idea of orphan children whose parents have died and they're stuck surviving on their own, and the possibility of a nuclear meltdown in a reactor, that is cool idea, especially for The Walking Dead. And it's creative, but the execution was terrible, honestly. It was terrible. And considering that came out at the same time as HBO's Chernobyl, it was just painfully terrible. So I wasn't really hoping that season 6 was gonna be amazing. I mean, of course I would be interested if it was really good, because I would want to watch it, because I want to enjoy the Walking Dead universe as a whole, but I wasn't really thinking that it was going to be good. But then they dropped a few trailers for season 6, and honestly it seemed surprisingly good. It seemed dark, there were some interesting stuff happening in the trailer, and it was just kind of exciting. I don't know, there was a surprising excitement in the trailer, but again, I wasn't too hopeful about it because trailers can be deceitful. I think the season 4 trailer was pretty good, season 5 trailer was pretty good as well, and for the main show, the season 7 trailer was decent, season 8 trailer was pretty decent as well. But all those seasons weren't really that good, so I was kind of hoping that it was going to be good, but not really expecting it to be good. And I wasn't even really going to watch the episode initially. I was probably going to check it out eventually to see maybe by some ungodly reason it was actually going to be good. But I was browsing Reddit and I saw some people actually praise the shit out of this episode, saying that it was actually really good and that you should watch it. And I was like, wait, it cannot be that good. But then I just put on the episode and watched it, and wow, is it fucking back to form for Fear the Walking Dead. First of all, the color is back, because for the last 2 seasons it's had a gray filter, which personally I don't necessarily hate, because like I like the feeling that this gray filter gives to the show. It makes it a little bit more moodier, as if it's happening during a different time of the year. Like some of my favorite Walking Dead episodes are the ones that kind of feel like they are happening during the autumn for some reason. I feel like it's just the kind of weather that I like. I prefer when it's cloudy and moody and kind of cold compared to when it's hot and summer and everything. So the gray filter kind of made me feel like it's all rainy and cloudy. So I wasn't too much against it. I actually liked it initially in season 4. But in season 5, that kind of like moody feeling was gone and it was just kind of felt bland. Like it felt like they kind of weren't even committing to the gray filter. They just kind of dulled the colors of everything. But now for the season 6 premiere, the color is actually back. And it actually is fucking good again. Like, I don't know what else to say. It was genuinely good. I honestly don't want to spoil the episode, so if you haven't watched the episode, stop this video, go watch the episode because it was genuinely good. It was very much an episode in the vein of Clear from season 3 of the main show, and Here's Not Here, which is the episode in which we see Morgan in the 6th season of the main show, where he meets the cheesemaker guy who gives him his stick. It's definitely kind of like a spiritual sequel to those episodes. So if you haven't watched the episode, go watch it and then come back to this video, because it's a good episode. It's definitely worth the watch. So from this point onwards, it's not gonna be spoiler free. So as I said, obviously this episode is a Morgan focused episode, and according to the showrunners, apparently this season is all gonna be focused on, each episode is gonna focus on different characters. Like it's gonna be kind of like an anthology series with like bottle episodes for each character groups. And honestly, if the quality is this good for each of these episodes, I feel like that could be actually really good. I feel like the anthology format could benefit them a lot if what I think they're doing with the episode is what they are actually doing, because to me it feels like they might have different antagonists for each group of people for each episode. Like for example, for this first episode we had the bounty hunter who was the antagonist that Morgan had to deal with. In the next episode it seems like there's gonna be some pioneer guy, aka one of Ginny's people, who's going to be an asshole to Alicia and Strand, and they're gonna have to deal with them, with him, or maybe with Virginia as a whole. And in episode 3 we're gonna be having Althea and Dwight, and I don't know who might be the villain of that one. Maybe the masked people, because there's some weird masked people in the teasers. And then from one of the trailers, I think it's for episode 4 or 5, I don't know, it's the episode that features June and the truck lady. It seems like they might be facing off a villain of their own as well. So this anthology series format with different villains for each episode, I think that could actually really work as well. And as I said in my video where I was talking about the future of The Walking Dead and the review of all the spin-offs and the fact that season 11 is going to be the last season of The Walking Dead, I'm really freaking excited about Tales of the Walking Dead, and I think it's a really smart move from AMC to go for this kind of concept for The Walking Dead, because at this point the main show has kind of played out. It's played out its storylines, or at least will be after season 11, and people even initially weren't really sold on Fear the Walking Dead and just having to follow another group of people in the zombie apocalypse. So if they create another spin-off in that vein, I don't really think people are going to enjoy it as much. But if they go for a spin-off that is like Tales of the Walking Dead, in which you can be completely experimental with what you want to do, you can feature old characters before we met them, or you can do maybe one of what if episodes, like maybe what if Shane was the leader of the group going forward or whatever. You can do that in this concept, or just feature new characters. There's so many possibilities for this series, and what I consider and why I consider it the smart decision to do this is that they can experiment with the concept as much as they want. They can do whatever they want, and if people like certain characters a lot or certain storylines or whatever, they can easily spin off those characters into their own spin-off. Like let's say there's some really cool character villain that they have, and people like him a lot. They can easily spin him off into his own season mini series or several season series. I don't know. Like, it's so good because they can experiment, and if something sticks to the wall, they can basically extend it more, either in Tales of the Walking Dead by having more episodes with him, or just spin him off into his own spin-off. That is a really good idea. And I feel like they're kind of doing something very similar with Fear, where this season each episode is going to be its own story, it's going to be focusing on these characters, and again they can experiment more because for example, with like the villain of this first episode, it was the bounty hunter guy. He was really cool. He's a really cool character, really cool idea, really cool execution. But I don't know if it would have worked for like a whole season. Like, I don't think he would work as a big bad. He might be the lucky of the big bad, as he was in this episode, but I don't think he really works as a big bad. I think at this point, the Walking Dead universe as a whole should move on from the concept of a big bad for like a season or two, because at this point, you can't really do much more, and especially to differentiate all the villains from each other, because even a long time ago, the Governor and Negan weren't that far off from each other character-wise. Like, they're obviously different characters, but they're not that far off. Both are megalomaniacs who want to subjugate other people and control them. And the Whisperers are a little bit of a creative idea. Like, if we have more like that, fine, but again, don't make them the big bad. Don't make them as if you have to defeat all of them. Just have them as a thread, an additional thread, because I feel like that kind of was a detriment to season 10 of the main show, because for season 9, when they weren't really the main threat or they weren't the big bad, they were just a threat that you could face whenever you're killing zombies. That's when they were scary. In season 10, when they started explaining more about Alpha and Beta, it kind of lost me a little bit, and it lost the fear factor, if you ask me. So I think moving on from the concept of Big Bad as a whole is something the Walking Dead universe should do, especially after the whole CRM versus Commonwealth storyline, if that's where they go, ends, because it's just everything is done at this point. I think more episodic villains like this could work so much better. And yeah, the villain of this episode was amazing. This honestly, as a lot of people have pointed out, felt like a mini Morgan movie, because you know, AMC has teased that they might do character-specific movies in the future. This genuinely felt like a mini Morgan movie, because it was basically Morgan and like two other characters. It was very much a bottle episode, but also kind of like the journey that the characters went in this episode genuinely felt like a short movie, you know? Because in the beginning of the episode, we obviously meet Morgan after he was shot by Virginia from the finale of season 5. Then he is apparently saved by somebody unknown to us at this point. It's probably going to be revealed later down the season. My guess is that it's Sherry, Dwight's wife, but we'll see. Then he meets a guy called Isaac, who is looking for a gun so he can get back to his family. And he helps out Morgan because Morgan falls down in front of a place or whatever. He helps him get inside and wants to take care of him, but Morgan doesn't want to befriend new people anymore, because as we've heard in the last few seasons, when he loses people, he loses himself. So he doesn't want more people. He doesn't want to be responsible for more people. And then the bounty hunter guy, whose name I think it's Emile or Emil, I don't know how they pronounce that. I would think it's Emile, but I'm just gonna call him bounty hunter guy for the sake of simplicity. Shows up looking for Morgan, and this is a complaint that I've seen from some people that who complain that people are really loving this episode, because there are a lot of kind of like small contrivances and coincidences in this episode, like for example how fast he finds him, or how the walkie-talkies are still working, and even though they're big range or whatever, like those kind of things. Yes, it's contrived or coincidental, but honestly at this point with Fear, in general for me, I don't go out of my way to complain about these things, as long as it's not dog shit, I'm fine with it. Like, it doesn't bother me too much. To me, that's a small detail to focus on. And I think there's a word for it specifically when you focus on small details instead of the big story, and that kind of causes you to not enjoy it as much, but I can't remember the word. I think it's like on the tip of my tongue, but I haven't been able to remember it for like a week now. So if you know it, comment it down below. But yeah, there are small controversies like this, but personally don't bother me. So after that, Isaac goes out to kind of distract or cause the bounty hunter to leave this place so he doesn't go in and kill Morgan. But the bounty hunter still ends up getting inside of the place because his dog smells Morgan inside. Luckily though, Morgan gets away, gets outside of the place and away. And then Isaac takes him to Morgan's hideout, which is in a water tower, which I found really cool. That's a really cool, it's a really cool little idea, you know. It's a place where you wouldn't think somebody would live, but it's a neat idea, you know. It's the little things, like for this episode, it's all those little things that make it work so well. Because again, the story is not amazing, it's fine, like it's interesting, it's a little bit more intriguing than your average Walking Dead episode in general, like the Walking Dead universe, because bounty hunters I don't think have been done in the Walking Dead universe, so that definitely makes it a little interesting. But it's all these little details that make it so much better, as I'm gonna get into some other details later on. And as they are arguing, Isaac asks for Morgan to go, help him out because Morgan apparently can sneak between walkers because of his shot wound getting necrotic. He smells like that, so the walkers ignore him. So Isaac pulls a gun on him, but then the bounty hunter shows up and pulls down the tower with his pickup truck, which is pretty cool as well. It kind of escalates the stakes a little bit, so I enjoy that. And then Morgan is kind of forced to shoot him. He shoots him in the arm, but it was still really cool because we actually get to see blood sprout from his hand, which I found really cool. Like these little details in this episode, like that is really good. Like this is what makes me believe that the rest of the season is gonna be as good. And the teasers and sneak peeks for the second episode as well, which I'm gonna get into as well. But I love the blood sprout, which takes him down for a second so they can escape. And then they get close to the place where Isaac's wife is staying currently, who is, by the way, pregnant in the 8th month, I believe they said. The funny thing and the funny detail about it is that they are actually hiding close to a dam. I know, a dam. Like when I saw the dam, I genuinely thought that, is this the dam from the season 3 finale? Because like, why would they do that otherwise? So there are a few more other parallels to Fear the Walking Dead and the main show actually. Like for example, the sneaking between walkers, which was a Fear staple because Nick was able to go around walkers, like they ignored him. And for the main show, the fact that Morgan is meeting another guy who's just trying to get back to his family, similar to how he met Rick in season 1. Like there's a lot of little neat parallels like this to both the main show and Fear's OG 3 seasons. Like it's neat. Like it's the fact that they're kind of acknowledging that the old Fear. I love that. Like these little things are so cool. I love it. And if like, there's no way that this is not intentional with the dam. There's no way that it's not a reference to the original series, because just the idea of the hideout that I have near that dam, because that dam has a hole and it's empty. I assume it emptied through that hole at some point. Now there's a dry bed, like there's no water there. There's no lake there. But on the maps, it still shows it as a lake, so nobody would think to look there. So it's a perfect hideout. And there's no way they would think of this without like watching the season 3 finale where Nick blows up the dam so all the water spills out. That's honestly why I thought the dam might have been the exact same dam from the season 3 finale. I think it could have been cool if it was, but even if it's not, it's a nice reference. And the fact that they're acknowledging that fear before season 4 existed is really cool. There's also another little reference or a parallel to the main show, but I'm gonna mention it later because I want to get through other stuff before that. So Morgan tries to get through the walkers and get to Isaac's wife, Rachel, but as he's passing through the walkers, he falls down and they almost, one of them almost bites him, but Isaac, who has 2 bullets in his gun, well now 1, shoots the walker and starts fighting some around him as a way, of course, to take them down and get through them as well. And I gotta say, Isaac fights really cool. Like, I love the rage he has when he kills the walkers. Like, he has this little knife that he's carrying. You can't even see the blade in most of the shots. I don't even think we ever saw the blade. But he's like so vicious and kills them so powerfully. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He just stabs him in the head and beats them to death like that. Like, it's so cool. And I love how, in general, just so fun to see him kill them because he does it in such a cool, fierce way. And there's even some shots where he pulls his arm like this, so he kind of stabs him in the back of the head. That is so cool. I don't know why, but it's so cool. See, he kills walkers really cool. And at the same time, Morgan also kind of pulls some strength out of his ass and puts down the rest of the walkers that are nearby to him so they can both get inside. And there's a subtle hint right there that Isaac might be bitten because you can see him holding onto his side, similarly to how you can subtly see when Carol was bitten in the season 8 episode 6, I believe it was. So they get to Rachel, and at that moment it becomes night, and the bounty hunter shows up again, having found them thanks to Morgan's smell again. At that point, Morgan offers to sacrifice himself as long as he leaves Isaac and Rachel alone. And by the way, I didn't mention, but Isaac had promised that if Morgan took him to his wife, Isaac would take care of Morgan's friends, aka our group, the main group of this series. So Morgan is ready to sacrifice himself and make it easy for the bounty hunter to take his head, as long as he leaves them alone. But then Isaac shows up and attacks the bounty hunter. And even though Isaac sucks at fighting against the bounty hunter, I just love his determination in fighting. Like, he just sucks at fighting genuinely, and it might be because of the wound. And I just love the way how he's fighting. He's easily taken down, and just as the bounty hunter is about to use his axe to behead him, which, by the way, such a badass weapon for this. I love it, 10 out of 10. Morgan comes in and attacks the bounty hunter, and then they have actually a pretty decent badass fight, if you ask me. It was actually really cool. It's honestly what made me kind of reconsider how I felt about the fight between Negan, Darrow, and Beta in the season 10 finale of the main show. Because while I didn't hate, I actually kind of liked the fight between Beta, Negan, and Darrow. The fact that this was a longer fight, yet it was still enjoyable, definitely put it a little bit into perspective that it maybe should have been a little bit longer. Yeah, they have a pretty badass fight, and in the meantime it's revealed that Isaac was bitten. He was bitten the previous time when he tried to get back without the gun before meeting Morgan. That's why he was sweating in an earlier scene. Actually, so there was even subtle hints that he was bitten, so there's so much thought put into this episode. It's fucking amazing when you think about it. Like, I'm in love with this episode. Like, I haven't enjoyed an episode so much since The Walking Dead season 9 episode 15, the bike scene. Like, the bike scene episode, that was the last episode I enjoyed so much, and I enjoyed every single detail about it so much. Like, wow. So it's revealed that Isaac was bitten, and because of that, I feel like kind of pushes Morgan that he cannot be the one to die, because Isaac is gonna die, and if both of them die, then there's no nobody to help Rachel, there's nobody to help Morgan's friends. So he now gets determined and defeats the bounty hunter, and then after the bounty hunter tells him that he wouldn't kill him, like Morgan wouldn't kill the bounty hunter, Morgan just grabs the axe and smacks it. I love the determination on his face when he does that. It's so cool and it's so gruesome and I love it. Then he faints, most likely because he was super tired at this point after fighting walkers earlier and now the bounty hunter. When he wakes up, the bounty hunter's dog is licking him. I assume that this dog is now Morgan's, I don't know. And his wound has been patched up, presumably by Isaac. And then when Morgan asks Rachel about Isaac, where is he, and saying that he wants to thank him, I love the emotion on Rachel's face, like the way she just says that he's dead with her face. I love that, like it's so good. And by the way, before I forget, as I said earlier, there's another little detail here that is a cool reference or cool detail when you think about it for the main in relation to the main show, because Morgan beheads the bounty hunter and later on takes the axe for himself. That becomes his new signature weapon. I find it cool that he does that because in the main show, his disciple, Henry, who he cared about, I guess you could say, in season 8, and I mean he wasn't in season 9, so in season 8, in the main show, Henry died by getting beheaded. So I find it interesting how Morgan now has the exact same, has a weapon that kills people in the same way that his disciple on the main show was killed. It's just a nice detail that somebody pointed out to me that I really like. But yeah, Isaac is dead. Morgan and Rachel presumably buried him, and as I said, then Morgan grabs the axe, and then we cut to Ginny finding the box with Morgan Jones written on it, but then it turns out that it was the bounty hunter's head, and I honestly love her face at that scene because she thinks she's gonna see Morgan's head, but then it turns out it's the bounty hunter, and you can kind of see that it, at first she smiles, but you can kind of see in her eyes that it's a smile out of like fear. Like I feel, at least that's how I interpret it, he's actually afraid of Morgan now. Like he's kind of like, I feel like it's more kind of like a defense mechanism. So I really like that. And then she says that she doesn't need him dead. She just needs him. She just needs his people to think he's dead, so they wouldn't rebel, you know. But then Morgan says that Morgan Jones is dead, you're dealing with somebody else now, and that was really cool. And we saw him in his new outfit, which is basically the bounty hunter's clothes. And personally, I gotta say, I actually love the beard and the hair look. Like, he looks so cool. I know from the trailers that he drops the axe and not the axe, the beard and the hair for the next episode. But I thought he looked so cool, especially when he picked the axe. There was one scene in which he just walks so determined, like very similar to Rick when he's like pissed off, or pretty much when he's pissed off. It's just kind of like a variation of it. Like, he definitely felt like Rick Grimes, like he definitely felt like him, but he was still his own thing. So yeah. And then we cut to the people who, in the beginning of the episode, we saw writing "The end is the beginning" on something. It turns out it's two guys painting "The end is the beginning" on a fucking submarine, and they were waiting for the bounty hunter to deliver them a key. Presumably the key is for something in the submarine. I think, I mean, what else would it be otherwise than nukes? But I don't even feel The Walking Dead will go there, so it's interesting to see where that's gonna go. But yeah, this was a fucking amazing episode, especially after the season 4 and 5 episodes. This was fucking mwah. In comparison to those, this is like a 20 out of 10, for fuck's sake. And honestly, for me, I love this episode so much. I'm honestly gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I think giving it a little bit more than that, I could give it a 9.4 at most. You know what? I'm gonna give it a 9.4 out of 10, honestly, because this was a really good episode. I love all the little details that you notice when you watch it, and it's just a fun little Morgan movie, basically. Like, it's so good. And right now, a lot of people are worrying that the uptick in quality might be a one episode thing, but from what I've seen from the trailer, uh, from the trailer for the second episode, it seems cool. The opening minutes of the episode seemed a little wonky, but I think that's because of the director of this episode, who is Lenny James, actually, the guy who plays Morgan. And it's his first directorial debut, so I'm gonna be lenient on him. But then I saw the sneak peek, which features Alicia and Strand, and honestly, that was so good. Like, that's such a small, entertaining scene. It was so good that Movie Idol decided to do a video because of that scene, so I think that should show you how good it is. It definitely feels like this season is gonna be better, so I'm actually fucking excited for Fear the Walking Dead again, which is something that I haven't felt in 3 fucking years. But yeah, that was actually surprisingly good, like, wow. And the thing is, I don't understand why is there such an uptick in quality. With the main show, at least for season 9, we got a new showrunner, so that explained why it was better now. Like, the new showrunner actually knew how to make a competent show again and removed all the Gimple speak. But for Fear the Walking Dead, there's a possibility that maybe Scott Gimple wasn't as focused on Fear for this season and maybe moved on to World Beyond because he helped create that, so he wasn't hands-on on this as much. I think maybe that's the theory that I'm gonna go for, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense, because the first episode is written by the showrunners, Ian and Andrew, and it's fucking amazing. It's probably, I might say it's the best Morgan-centric episode that we've had, like one of those episodes like Here's Not Here and Clear. It's the best, honestly, out of them. It definitely feels like a spiritual sequel, but personally I find it the most interesting out of those. And it's written by the same showrunners who wrote the beer bottle thing and the helping people thing, and what? How? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. How is there an uptick in quality? I don't know. And the thing is, why that bothers me is because I don't know if that uptick in quality is gonna continue for the second half of the season, because they still haven't shot it. I would assume so, but then if they renew Fear the Walking Dead for season 7, which I think they will, whether the quality uptick will continue, because I would love to enjoy this kind of new Fear the Walking Dead. And by the way, I love that they're actually bringing back the fear, because in this episode the bounty hunter was threatening as fuck. And in the second, and there are some shots in the trailers in which there's actually scary moments, like the mask guys with masked people with white masks. Like, there's one scene in which Dwight gets scared of them. That is really cool. And there are some really cool scary walkers in one scene as well. So I'm loving that they're bringing back the fear in Fear the Walking Dead. But yeah, this was a fucking amazing episode, and I think you can even genuinely see how good it is by looking at the length of the videos that I did for like the season 10 finale, for World Beyond, and for this, because I've been talking for like probably half an hour at this point, and I've been probably more focused than the last 2 reviews as well. But I just fucking love this episode. It was so fun. It was so good. Like, as I said, this is my favorite episode of anything from The Walking Dead since the calm before, which was the 15th episode of season 9. But damn, as I said, I think I'm gonna give this episode a 9.4 out of 10. It's amazing, especially, it's definitely a little bit overrated because of how shit the last 2 seasons were, and in general because I feel like it was better than season 10 of The Walking Dead, honestly. Season 10 of The Walking Dead had some good moments, but this just feels better than any of those episodes. I wouldn't say it's better than the whole season combined, but it's better than every single episode of it, I would say. I definitely enjoyed it more. I think if I have to go more fair and remove the overrating stuff, it's probably gonna be maybe... Honestly, no, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It was a solid fucking episode. It feels like it's movie quality, honestly. As I said, it's a mini Morgan movie. It's really good. Like, you should watch it if you haven't seen it. Even if I spoiled everything for you, you should watch it. It's genuinely good. But yeah, Again, I'm gonna remind you, I'm going to do the Walking Dead reviews and Fear the Walking Dead reviews at some point in the future, looking at the seasons and maybe some episodes specifically that really stand out to me that I really like. But I don't know when that's going to be, but if you want to see those, make sure to like and subscribe. And especially because if a lot of people like this video and subscribe to the channel because of this video, I'll definitely have more of an incentive to do those videos sooner. So if you want to see it sooner, like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. Also, check out the description to my Twitter if you want to follow me there, and to my Wattpad where I post my stories. Because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you end up enjoying my stories or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to Patreon where you can pledge your support and help keep the channel going. It helps support me so I can keep writing the stories you enjoy. But still, if you don't want to do it, I don't want to force you, so you can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing, especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think it's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!